Okay, so hello everybody. This is David, and I'm with Steve today. This is the first of our member features episodes. I did do a post about this about a week or so ago, just saying that we're going to be inviting members from the group to come online and just have a chat about their personal journeys, their spiritual paths, and also the modalities, services, and community work that they're doing, just so that everyone gets an opportunity to put a face to the name of some of the people that are sharing in the group, but also learn a bit about what's available in the region, because I certainly was very surprised when I first came back from Australia to learn about all the different people who are doing some amazing work over here. And I know that many of you have said to me as I've met you and in chats and things about how you didn't realize there was so many people in such a local area. So I think it's really great that we've got all the people around us doing all these amazing things, and I wanted to create the space for people to come on and just share a bit more about that. So that's what this feature is going to be about. We'll do one a week, and if you feel that you want to come online and share with us, and whether it's just about your personal journey, whether it's about your services that you offer, if you want to talk about your spiritual experiences, whatever it is, it's just a great opportunity for you to come online and just have a chat, talk about that, and inspire others, and let others know what's around in the area, so we can start building those community connections and growing together as a community, not just in the spiritual circuit, but also in other community initiatives as well, because I know there are people that are doing certain things like gardening projects and other community things like that. So it'd be good to hear about some of that stuff. So please feel free to reach out to me if you want to come online and do a session. But today we're here with Steve and Terry, and Steve's got a couple of projects which have been talked about in the group already, and he's obviously going to share a bit more about that today. But I'm going to hand over to Steve pretty much now and just let Steve share a bit about his journey, what's led him into where he is today, and what he's doing. So Steve, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Wow, thank you for having me, David. Really appreciate it. It's really good. Well, yeah, my journey started when I was a sort of teenager, in effect. I picked up a magazine called The Unexplained, and it had all sorts in there, from spontaneous human combustion to ghosts to UFOs to Bigfoot to tarot to remote viewing, which a lot more people are knowing about now, which they didn't do then. Really the fascinating stuff. And that piqued my interest in everything paranormal, mystical, supernatural. That just blew my mind, and just carried on learning over the past 40 odd years now. Time flies when you're having fun, so to speak. So yeah, really good. So I started developing my mediumship abilities back in the sort of mid 80s, probably about 87. Sorry about the phone. I'm at work, by the way. I'm working as well. Somebody else should get that. Fingers crossed. So yeah, I started developing my mediumship back in the mid 80s. One of a friend of the family who also was a medium, used to go to spiritualist churches and things like development circles. So I started to develop my intuition, my mediumistic abilities. But then life gets in the way, as it always does, and work got in the way. So started a job that doing graphics for various establishments in the Rotherham, South Yorkshire area. If you remember the Video House, the big video rental store, we did some promotional videos for them. So they would play their videos in their store, and we would do the voiceovers and the graphics and things like that. So yeah, life got in the way. Carried on sort of developing bits and bobs. Every couple of months I'd come back to it and read a little bit more and keep moving on. And of course, work got in the way again. So still developing sort of semi-regularly, and still obviously reading various things, getting books from the library when you can. That's what you used to do back in the day. And sort of then we're moving on a few years to probably 19... Oh, the guy, the partnership that I was in doing the graphics, his brother-in-law was also a medium. So it's quite uncanny being around these mediumistic people. Yeah. So we became friends over time. And then in 1996, we started a business, which is what we're still running now. Unfortunately, the guy, Dave, who was my friend at the time, he passed away. So we're running the business. It's an IT business. So that's my day job. gadgets and ghosts, pretty wide apart subjects. One's totally illogical, one's totally left brain, one's totally right brain. So we then started to go to, after a couple of years, we started to go to development circles in sort of Wakefield. So we were traveling about 45 minutes to these development circles, and that's going back to probably about the year 2000. When my mediumistic abilities started to kick in, and my healing abilities as well. So that's when I became interested in spiritual healing. But at the time, going back to the spiritual churches, you had to go there every week, and you had to do this, that, and the other, and train. And it's about a 5-year process. So I thought that was a little bit too long. So I went down the Reiki route. So I became Reiki level 1 in 2001, Reiki level 2, 2002. And we're still going to these development circles in Wakefield, or Pontefract End, further north than where I am. And again, work got in the way. We were working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. So there weren't a lot of time for doing really anything on Facebook or anything like that. But we did start a few little projects back in 2004 that never really got off the ground. Again, because we were always busy and work got in the way. Dave sadly passed away probably about 10 years ago now. And again, things sort of collapsed, got stuck into work. And then about sort of 8-9 years ago, I started to come back into the fold, so to speak. I started to want to, I was being drawn back into it, back into the field of mediumship and healing. And we started a group called the Power of 8 Yorkshire.
Yeah.
Now, the Power of 8 is a process where a group of people will come together and send out a healing intention or an intention for something for a member of the group.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't know that many people in this area, so I thought, well, we'll put it on Facebook and we'll do a healing intention that way. And one of the one of my customers who we're friends with now, her friend wasn't very well, so we pulled this group together, advertised on Facebook, got 2 or 3 people, 4 people there, and every Sunday we do this intention where we send an intention for someone. Either it's a healing intention, an intention for money, for wealth, for growth, for happiness, doesn't matter. And the intentions, the Power of 8 intentions, this all came about from a book that I read from a lady called Lynn McTaggart, and she's an investigative journalist. And she started the intention experiments quite a few years ago, probably 20 odd years ago now, where she would get a group of her intendees, as she calls them, together, and they would intend for members of the group. And they've had some pretty powerful healing experience as well. She's also done international healing experiments or intention experiments where there's been thousands and thousands of people joining in halls. Yeah. Massive halls. There's one in Israel that was one of the bigger ones a few years ago. So there's a sort of few hundred people in this hall, and there's thousands of people across the internet all joining in, all setting an intention for peace in the Middle East. Is one of them. That's the main, sort of the biggest one that she's done. And they managed to, the authorities, the people that to monitor and track violence and sort of war and things like that, deaths in war, etc. Sort of they noticed a drop when the intention was happening. Obviously, they'd actually analysed the data weeks later, but there was actually a drop in violence at the 24-hour period where they were sending this intention. So again, Lynn's sent other intentions as well, done other intentions. There's a big lake that was quite acidic. And of course, they've been testing this lake for many, many years, and it's been quite acidic for all those years. Yeah. So the intention was for the lake to become more alkaline. And they did the intention. There were thousands of people that all joined in. And it did, in fact, cause the lake to become more alkaline rather than acidic. So these are the things that sort of pushed me forward, that's helped me to start doing the things that I'm doing. And we've been doing the Power of 8 Yorkshire now for what, 7.5 years. So we've been doing it every Sunday, 7 p.m. UK time, plus about 20 minutes. And it's a nice environment. Lots of people out. We're now getting, there's probably 550 odd members of the group, right. And we get all over the world. Poland, America, Canada, Australia, things like that. Lots of people join the group. And we record it on Facebook, so people that aren't in the UK time zone, I know it's not convenient, you can come back to it later as well and still go ahead with the intention, because time and space, as we're beginning to learn, holds no bounds to our thoughts, emotions, and healing abilities, the energy that we send out into the universe.
Absolutely.
We can send it back in time, we can send it forward in time. So yeah, really good. So there's probably about anything from 15 to 22 people join me on a Sunday to send out these intentions. Depending on the weather and depending on holiday times and holiday seasons, it can drop to about 10 or 12, but generally it's about the 15 to 20 mark.
Yeah.
So really good experience. So we do some really good healing work there. We've got some good reports back on the efficacy of it as well. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So again, doing lots of things. I'm now starting to bring a website and a Facebook group into fruition called the MysticalArts.Academy, where we're going to be learning people. There's going to be courses on there for learning about different aspects of mysticism and supernatural and paranormal. And again, because my interest is so broad, that goes from UFOs to healing to remote viewing, which has been going on from the sort of late 60s, early 70s. The CIA and all the governments are doing this sort of remote viewing for espionage work and things. It's quite fascinating when you delve into it. So yeah, there's lots of things happening for me out there. I do meditation videos as well. I create those, post them on YouTube, and occasionally we'll do a live meditation video in the Power of 8 group as well. So in effect, we're doing quite a lot out there, and it's just trying to fit everything in onto a nice time scale to push things forward.
Yeah. So how do you balance? Because obviously you're talking about your left and right brain being both quite active. How do you find that balance between, or is there a bridge sometimes as well between the world of technology and the world of spirit? I mean, are you finding some crossover at any point? I mean, as one affected the other, or vice versa?
Oh, well, everything's connected, isn't it? Everything's energy, everything's vibration, so everything is interlinked, and there's synchronicities happening all the time. Certainly with some of our customers that get drawn to us, it's quite weird and spooky sometimes. You think, oh wow, that person knows this person, but they've never talked, but they both come and they've both got an interest in various sort of other aspects of things when they see what we're doing here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's quite getting out of the left brain sometimes is quite difficult, because I'm a program as well. We look after websites in the IT business that we run. We look after 250 odd domains, 170 odd websites. So I'm forever got my left brain in gear, and trying to get out of it is quite difficult sometimes. And that's where meditation comes in. I mean, meditation is absolutely fantastic, and it's something I try to do on a daily basis, certainly 10-15 minutes in the morning and 30-40 minutes at night, if I can fit it in, depending on the day of the week and what's happening. So yeah, meditation certainly helps. It quietens the mind, or when you get into a quietened state through meditation, it helps.
Yeah.
So
that's your personal balance, is it, between when you recognize you're in those more energetic spaces in the mind of what's been going on with work and stuff, you can retreat into a meditation that brings you back into your stillness.
Yes, without a doubt. It sort of brings me out of the stress mode, because it can be quite stressful on the IT side of things when people are phoning up with major problems. But we look after a lot of businesses as well, and if there's a major problem that they're having, that can be quite stressful. You want to help them, you want to get in there, solve the problems. So yeah, you do get the urgency that stress then starts to form part of the job. And getting out of the stress, getting into a relaxed state is very important. Stress is the biggest killer. It's the biggest cause of disease in the world. So learning how to meditate, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes a day, it's been proven. There's a guy I follow, there's quite a few people I follow, as you would imagine. And some of these people are on the top 100 most influential people in the world. So we've got the likes of Dr. Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, Greg Braden, Lynn McTaggart, and there's a couple of others as well that aren't as well known. And the Dr. Joe Dispenza, he does those massive conferences. There might be 1,500 people on those conferences, week-long conferences, 5-day conferences. And it's all about learning to meditate and heal and bringing about a more peaceful inner self. And some of the tests that they've been doing on blood, they've been doing blood tests before and after, and just sort of 20 minutes a day meditating can increase the healthy hormones that's flowing through your body by 55%. And when we're in a state of stress, the body isn't in a place where it thinks it needs to repair itself. For example, if you are going back to the proverbial sort of saber-toothed tiger back in the prehistoric days, if there's a rustle in the bushes and you suddenly jump and you think, what's that? Is that, you know, just with the wind, or is it a tiger going to come and eat me? And if it is a tiger, you get into a stress mode, the fight or flight mode, and the energies of the body get put into the muscles and the extremities and away from the digestion. Because if you're going to be eaten by a tiger, you don't really need to digest the food that's in your tummy. You need it for energy to get away from the tiger. And then when you come out of the stress mode, coming back into balance, your body can then start to regenerate and start to digest the food and put the energy where it's needed for health and vitality. But nowadays we're in stress sort of 90% of the time. So it is important to learn how to relax and to meditate and get out of the stress mode as much as possible, just so the body can regenerate, rejuvenate, and heal itself. And that's the biggest, well, again, biggest cause of disease is stress.
So it's good to hear that that's your technique, because obviously there'll be a lot of people in the group who are listening as well who are probably trying to mitigate or balance that wanting to be on a spiritual trajectory, but also still living in the workaday world as well, and trying to find that balance of how do I have both and rather than either or situation. So it doesn't have to be stress or peace. It can be a bit of stress and then a bit of peace to kind of balance that out, because we have to go into the stressful moments sometimes. But if we've got to practice and understand how to get back into balance, then that's really important. So it's good to hear that you have that. I mean, I personally enjoy meditation as well. It's always been a good anchor for me. So, you know, I definitely feel what you're saying there as well. So, yeah. If you can you say, because obviously with the work that you're doing in the technology side, have you experienced a lot of clients coming through that have then learned from you or heard from you about some of the other stuff and then become more aware or interested in that scene as well, the spiritual or the paranormal?
Yeah, over the past 5 or 6 years, yes, and that's been down to me not giving out information, of course, because for a lot of people, their spiritual life is quite personal.
Yeah.
And it's always been the woo-woo side of things that put people off.
Yeah.
And because I'm quite logical, quite left-brained, I like to prove everything. And until finding Joe Dispenza, Dr. Bruce Lipton, Lynn McTaggart, who are doing scientific research on this that proves what we've been talking about for years, or thinking about, or learning about for years, we can now prove a lot of this. And that's given me the confidence to say, it's not just me, it's not just woo-woo, it's not just me having pie-in-the-sky ideas, you know, being fanciful and wishful thinking and things like that. These are scientific evidence that's proving that when you do meditate, it does increase your life. It does help your body regenerate and get back into a healthy state. Your mind can change your physiology. You are the creator of your own reality. Whereas up to sort of 5 or 6, well, probably 10 years ago now, I, you know, was under the same impression as probably about 99% of the people. You know, we believe what we're told by the press and by doctors and things like that, that it's our DNA that causes our genetics to, you know, if we've got a faulty DNA, that's going to cause us disease. If we've got the cancer gene, there's a good possibility we're going to get cancer. And the problem that we have is that we believe them. And it's not the case anymore. Dr. Bruce Lipton is a cell biologist, and he's been doing research since the 60s. He's knocking on a bit now, getting old like me. But he's been doing, he's a cell biologist, he knows what he's talking about. And he has done tons of experiments, scientific experiments, proven that it's not the DNA that creates the disease from faulty DNA. It's the environment that the cells are in that are getting the blueprint from the DNA to build the cell. So the stem cells will turn into anything, can turn into fat cells, bone cells, brain cells, anything. So, and it's the environment that those cells are in. And the environment, of course, is the blood that's flowing through our body. So if we're in a stress state, the brain is kicking out lots of stress hormones, and that's not a good conducive environment for health, growth, and repair.
Yeah.
So when we start to meditate, we start to release hormones and chemicals that are conducive to repair, because that's the state that we're in. We're in a state of repair and regeneration. So when the stem cells are being produced, dividing and being produced, I suppose, they are taking the signals from the environment. Again, the environment is our thoughts, feelings, emotions, and the chemical composition of the blood that's flowing through our system. So if we're getting all this sort of unconducive chemicals through our body, the stress hormones, then the cells that are going to be produced from the stem cells, they're going to turn into things that aren't as good. It's called, I forgot what it's called now. What is it called? Upregulating. So when we are in stress, our cells get downregulated, meaning that they're not as productive, they're not as healthy. But when we're not in stress, when we're in a good state, the cells get upregulated, which means they are more vibrant, they can do better for our body. So it's not the DNA and the fact that, what we've been told, it's actually the environment that we're in that causes our health and vitality to either blossom or decline. And that's down to stress, of course. So yeah, there's stress is the biggest killer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've talked a little bit about Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza and Greg Braden in the group. I think Karen even referred to them as the Three Musketeers, because they do offer a lot of scientific insight into some of these topics, which often, as you say, a lot of people talk about them as though they're woo-woo. But I believe that the work such as what they're doing is actually, the quantum physics and all that is really the evidence of the divine. It's not an either-or situation anymore. It's always a science and spirituality are merging more now, so we can understand it from a more logical perspective, because that's what the human mind wants to be able to do, isn't it? And so for me, I think that work is profound, because the results are there to be seen. As you say, there's scientific evidence now showing what certain brain states can produce and such. So I think it's good for people to hear that. And I'm interested to hear, obviously with the power of 8, the inspiration that you've got from Lynn McTaggart and people like Joe Dispenza. I mean, how are you finding that's experienced through your sessions? Are you getting, what kind of feedback are you getting from some of the people that are receiving these intentions? Are the healings taking place, or?
Yeah, so some really good ones. There's a lady that is having PMS problems, premenstrual syndrome problems, and we've got a website, thepowerof8.uk, where people can request intentions. So it asks some various questions. The problem I found over the years of doing that is people message you on Facebook, any chance of an intention, and then you're just going backwards and forwards asking questions, and it just takes forever.
Yeah.
So created the website, thepowerof8.uk, where people can request intentions. You need to be a member of the group, and it is better if you can participate as well. We're not a healing group, so we're not a spiritual healing group or a Reiki healing group. There's plenty of those around on the internet. We're an intention group for the group itself.
Yeah.
And so she put this intention in, and even before we did the intention last Sunday, even before we did the intention, she noticed her symptoms being suppressed, sort of not as acute. So even just putting an intention in there, you're putting a thought, feeling, and emotion out into the universe, and the universe will mirror that back to you. So if you're wanting, less PMS symptoms, as soon as you start writing it down, either on a piece of paper or something like that, you're thinking about it, you're putting emotion into it, and it's not just the thoughts, it's the emotion that carries the thoughts into the universe, that then the universe will mirror back. A bit like the law of attraction and manifesting. There's a lot more to the law of attraction than that, and a lot of people are just coming into the field and seeing the law of attraction, thinking, oh, I'm going to get rich really, really quickly, I can have a Porsche on the drive next week.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that, of course. I'm sure there are the odd exception, and it's probably the odd exception, but generally speaking, our thoughts, feelings, and emotions get sent out. We're an electromagnetic being.
Yeah.
We are transmitting energy and information out from our body, from our heart center, from our mind, all the time, and that's going out into the universe, and that gets mirrored back to us, reflected back to us with the situations that we find ourselves in.
Yeah.
So when she was sort of filling out the form to request the intention, she's feeling the emotion of that. So she's sending that emotion out into the universe. And of course, the universe will mirror that back and start the process of healing. We've not heard back from her yet, but hopefully, fingers crossed, she's going to have a profound turnaround time. One of the others, probably about 18 months ago, a guy broke his shoulder, and he was, for all intents and purposes, he was going to have an operation because it was that bad to fix the problem. So we did an intention, and by the time he got around to seeing the consultant, the damage wasn't as much as what they thought it was originally from the x-rays. It had healed a lot better, and he ended up not needing the surgery.
Wow.
Another lady broke her arm, should have took sort of 6 to 8 weeks to heal it. It sort of healed in 4 weeks. So again, it's about increasing the efficacy, increasing the rate at which we can heal ourselves just by sending out these intentions. And you can do it yourself. You know, all you need is, it's the emotion that you need. You need the emotion that carries the thought and the intention out into the universe, and of course the universe will mirror it back to us.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things where, you know, if we were looking at language of maybe 2,000 years ago, we might be calling that a prayer, you know, but really in modern understanding, that's just having an actual relationship with the field, giving it the emotion and the intention that you are wanting, and letting there be a kind of conversation there, but energetically. And so I think that it's not something that it's new. It's just that we've got a newer understanding again of how that works. And so I think from, you know, I'm a fan of prayer, for example, but I think of it in a very spiritual way, but I also understand it from a very scientific way as well, and how it's just feedback. It's correspondence all the time. There's always a reflection and a mirroring that takes place. And so if we create that from here, the external will eventually replicate and show us that in reflection. So that's good to hear that you're getting some results through that. And so you've got a website and a Facebook. I know you've got a Facebook group, The Power of Eight. So people can just join. Well, we'll obviously include a link to that in this chat as well, so people can just click to join that and then send you or fill out a form to ask for an intention or take part in the weekly.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem. Look, at the moment we've got a few intentions on the go, so we're doing 2 a week.
Yeah.
Each intention takes about 10 minutes. I do a little chat at the beginning, so we're looking about 30 minutes at the moment, but generally speaking it's about 22 minutes, so it's not a massive amount of time, and it does give people benefits. And of course we do a little bit of a relaxation before we start the intention, and that relaxation helps people center themselves, and it helps them get into the right headspace. And of course, that also promotes healing for themselves. Lynn McTaggart has coined something called the rebound effect. So not only is the person getting benefit that is the receiver of the intention, but everybody else involved with the intention also receives benefits as well. Again, we're putting out the love into the universe and asking for healing for someone else. We're getting that back as well. So it does help the intendees as well as the intender, if that's the right words. But yeah, going back to prayer, when I was learning Reiki back in 2001, I did my first one. He was saying what you need to do is just, you know, put your hands. You don't necessarily need to do it. You can do it covertly, shall we say, if you're in a restaurant or something like that. So just put your hands around your plate or of your food or your drink, and just send a positive intention in there, positive energy. Sort of imagine it being surrounded by a ball of light of pure divineness, if you want to call it that, if you want to get into the more spiritual side of things. And that can improve the quality of the food. It can enhance the nutrition in there. Just like when Lynn McTaggart sent the intention to reduce the alkalinity, sort of the acidity of the pond, we're doing the same. And it's just prayer. We've gotten out of the habit of thanking God for the food that's on our plate, and you know, the food that we're about to receive, etc., etc. And I think that's down to the modern way of life getting in the way. And going back to the spirituality and the science side of things, it was around about the 1600s when science started to become more mainstream. It wasn't called science then, but and religion, the religious leaders decided that science and spirituality cannot match, cannot sort of join together, do not encroach into spirituality, otherwise you're going to be beheaded, so to speak. And that's how it went, and that's why there's been such a massive divide between spirituality, religion, and science.
Yeah.
And that's now just coming together, as you suggested. We are seeing the evidence that the quantum field, the divine matrix, source, the universe, whatever you want to call it, some people call that God as well, and it is real. You know, it is now provable that everything is interrelated. We are all linked, and that they've done experiments where they've taken 2 photons of light, moved them 7 miles apart, manipulated one with an electromagnetic field, and the same happened to the other particle of light. What they thought was, because information can't travel faster than, nothing could travel faster than the speed of light, it would have taken X amount of seconds for that one to have an effect on this one. What they noticed was that wasn't the case. It was nigh on instantaneous. If, for example, it took a second for the information to go from there to there, it was actually a billionth of a second they calculated it as. So it was that fast. Thought can travel to the other side of the universe in a split second. It's that fast of speed of information transfer, which blew their mind, which blows everybody's mind that's actually found that out. Because again, we thought that nothing could travel faster than the speed of light. That's not the case. I think it was about 1,000 times faster than the speed of light the information was being sent from one particle to the other. So again, that's proving to some people that we are linked. Every particle is linked from the Big Bang, as it were, coming out, expanding. You manipulate one particle, and another particle that's linked will have an effect. Will have an effect on that as well. So yeah, it's really good how science is now showing religion and spirituality is in fact true.
Indeed, and I think for us, obviously when we understand unity and that there is really no such thing as time and space, for those people that can understand that concept and that idea that really over there is just here as well, then of course that makes sense, because there is no time to take, because it's all just here anyway. And again, as you're saying, science is really showing us that now. So it's exciting times, and I think that really good times to be putting together our intentions for the kind of world that we want to see out there, because so often we're in reaction to some of the things that are taking place, whether it's war or disease or whatever it is. But actually, we can create the reality that we want in this moment right now from within by just having our own intentions and our own emotions and energies in check. And so again, it comes back to the self and what do we really want to create. So it's great to hear that you're having such good results with that group, and I'm sure some of the people here would like to be a part of that. So we'll obviously include a link so you can join that group if you're interested. And just to quickly touch back on your other project, your Mystical Arts group. So you're saying, have you got people actually doing training through that as well? I know you said you're setting up a website. So have you got people with credentials that are actually offering different trainings? Or?
Yeah, me in certain aspects, but I will be opening it up to other people that are qualified that want to do or use the platform that I'm creating to do their teachings as well. So I want it to be a bigger community. There's the problem with Facebook is, you know, if there's a group of 500 people and you put a message on there, it might be seen by 10 of them. Yeah. Again, it's all down to the Facebook algorithms. Yeah. Whereas when you become part of a community like this, we can send out emails to say, this is happening, that's happening. And even on, I'm admins of a couple of massive groups on Facebook as well. One's got 18,000 members, one's got 4,600 members. But I also used to run a group 5 or 6 years ago with 500,000 members. Yeah. It was a joke group and it got shut down by Facebook. Lots of controversy on there. You know what jokes are like, people don't like them, they do like them and complain, etc. So it got shut down, but it ran for about 2 years with 500,000 people on there. So I'm quite familiar with how Facebook works and the algorithms and how to get your posts out into Facebook. The problem is, on a group with 18,000 people, somebody posts a really good post and it might be seen by 3 or 4 or 5, or if nobody comments on that post, it won't get seen by more than 10. If somebody starts commenting, then it might jump to 20 and 30 and 40. And if there's more comments over a longer period of time, 2 or 3 days, it might be seen by 3,000 or 4,000. But out of sort of 18,000 people, it's not there's quite a big gap of people that could potentially see that message. So when you join a community that does send out emails on a regular basis saying there's new content being added, come and join this, or even a discussion group on there, you're not missing out. And that's the problem with Facebook. There's so many groups out there that people can join or have joined that they'll not see messages from all of them, and they're going to miss lots of content. And I think knowledge is power, and a lack of knowledge is a lack of power. And that's what the powers that be, the governments, the 1% and the 0.1% of people that's running the world, as well as the religious organizations, they don't want people to have power. They want people to be subservient. They want people to be a lack of power, because someone that doesn't have any power is no threat. And going back to our meditations on a daily basis and sending out the intentions and things, someone did some calculations that if 1,000 people in an area of 500,000 people, for let's say, in a county, if those 1,000 people regularly meditated, then the violence would drop significantly. The problem happens is, same with the Lynn Taggart's intentions. It's okay while you're doing the intention, and maybe sort of a day after and maybe a day before, the violence drops. But then after that, it comes back to what it was prior to that. So we need to educate people into this becoming the meditation side of things and setting out positive intentions. It needs to be a daily occurrence. We need to be doing this daily to have a long-term effect on us and the earth, and the type of world we want to live in. So there's no great benefit of doing it once a month or once a week, or again, you're going to get a little sort of positiveness out of it, but then it's just going to go back to normal. We need to have a massive community where people are doing it regularly for the benefit of the world, not just themselves or a healing intention, but a world healing intention, so to speak.
Indeed, because yes, knowledge is important, but it's actually the application that's really the power, isn't it? Because if you know something but you don't do anything with that, then there is no power in that. So it's more about it's about actually being an active participant in the changes that you want to really bring into fruition in the world, isn't it? Really. So
definitely. One of the problems that you get with protests is the because we're all kicking out electromagnetic energy, and we can pick up that from other people. So sympathetic resonance. So what happens is, if you're in this happens at football matches all the time in the UK, where there'll be half a dozen people that are intent on causing problems. And then the people around them will start to feel and pick up that energy. And then they'll start getting frustrated, and they'll start shouting and giving out abuse. And eventually a whole mass of people just want to cause problems. And that's the same what happens with protests, whether they're peaceful protests or not. You're going to get a small majority of people there that wants to cause trouble. So then the protest becomes a negative protest. Instead of having a positive effect on the environment, the world as a whole, it has a negative impact, because it's bringing more frustration out there. It's creating more frustration and more annoyance and more anger, and again, more disruption. So it's about doing it the right way. And it's about being in a nice, good, centered space, good feeling space. 60% of our subconscious programming, and we live 95% of the time from our subconscious programming. Or we operate 95% of our time from the subconscious programs that we've programs and behaviors that we've learned through our lives. And 60% of those programs are negative. I'm not good enough. Money doesn't grow on trees, for example. If I do this, something's bad's going to happen. Do I have enough knowledge to do something? It's all negativity. It's all stopping us from moving forward and creating a better life for ourselves. So it's such a wide subject, self-improvement subject, sort of bringing more spirituality into our lives. If you want to go down the spiritual route, you don't have to. You can do meditation without being spiritual about it. You can send intentions without bringing religion into it. If you're not a religious, I'm not a religious person. Do I believe in God? not as a great as a sort of gentleman sat on a throne with grey beard, sort of dishing out punishments. No. Do I believe in God as in the universe, the divine matrix, quantum physics? Yes. So you don't need to sort of be bottled into a certain well, you don't need to be in a certain bottle of religion to be able to improve your lives through meditation, thoughtfulness, mindfulness. You know, it's such a wide field out there, and there's a lot of people doing lots of things that we're doing, but in a slightly different guise, slightly different way. So what we're doing may not be right for you, but don't push that to one side that it's never going to be right for you. Somebody else might be explaining it in a slightly different way that's better for you to understand.
Of course, it's because it's. I mean, ultimately, it's all spiritual, isn't it? It's just under different labels, and I think what's really great about this conversation is it's just reminding that regardless of whether you get on your knees on a mat and pray or whatever you do, the energetics behind everything is really what's feeding the collective experience. So it's always about being aware of the energy that you are creating and generating within and sharing with everybody else, and that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Well, one of my mantras is, for each and every thought you have, ask yourself, is it a satisfying thought or an unsatisfying thought? And if it's unsatisfying, change it to one that is. If your mind's running away with itself with negative thoughts, you know, oh, this is going to happen, or has somebody had a crash because we've not heard from them and they should be here by now. These are all negative thoughts. Unsatisfying thoughts. So if you can change them to a more satisfying thought, again, that changes the chemistry of the body to help you be more healthy as well. And it means you're not kicking out the negativity into the environment. So I always, and it really does work. Again, I'm very left-brained, and when you're busy and you're distracted and lots of phone calls and things, I'm quite focused when I'm doing something, and being distracted out of it, it starts the subconscious negativity rolling. I just, what? I'm busy. You know, it's that type of thing. And I started doing this 7 or 8 years ago. Again, Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza, etc. These are the people that I've learned this from, and it really does work over time. It does take time, like anything. It takes practice, and practice makes for proficiency. But as soon as you either, for each and every thought you have, or as soon as you become aware you're having unsatisfying thoughts, change them to something else. Change your thought patterns, go and do something else. Imagine, just sit down, have a cup of tea, and imagine you're walking down a beach with the sun shining down on you and hearing the waves breaking on the shore. Anything that gets you out of the little mindset that you're in. Of course, there's going to be situations where no matter how hard you try, that's not going to work. You know, if you are in a car accident and you're not injured, but you're going to be stressed. So trying to get out of that and into a positive mental attitude is going to be pretty difficult. Or if someone upsets you, it takes a lot of time and effort to get out of that upsetment.
Yeah.
So it does take practice. The more you practice, like anything else, the easier it becomes.
Yeah. Amazing. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up there, Steve. I'll stop recording in a second, but we'll just have a little debrief afterwards. So thank you so much for sharing with us today about your journey and what you're offering. So the Power of 8 and the Mystical Arts are your two main projects that you want to promote today, and we'll include those in the comments. And I would advise anybody to go and check those pages out if you want to be involved. And yeah, thank you again, Steve, and we'll look forward to seeing more of that content in the group as well.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure. Really enjoyed it. Thanks a lot.
No worries. See you.